How would you define real estate as?
You can start your learning while you're working. You don't need to necessarily have a degree to start. First thing that makes a property desirable. I only made my first sale like after 7 months. Don't lie, when I came in, I thought it would be quick money, easy money. I came to a point where failure was not an option. It was 2020. That year changed everything. I sold over 12 houses that year.
12 houses in 1 year.
Over 12 houses. I think I made
Whoa.
like 50.
That's good, fam. Today's video, we met up with a real estate mogul who sold over 12 houses in 1 year. So if you're a person who's trying to get into real estate, I know you need to hear this. So please watch to the end and don't forget to comment what you learn and don't forget to subscribe because I need it. But anyways, let's get to the video. Thank you for agreeing to do this with me, Nick.
Sure, no problem.
So the first question I want to ask you is, how would you define real estate as? For the people who don't know real estate.
Real estate is basically immovable property. Right now, we are on real estate. You see, it's a piece of land that is either used for people living there or it's used for commercial purposes, just like where we're on right now. This is real estate.
Yeah.
I was inspired by Robert Kiyosaki's book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And in that book, Robert mentioned how acquiring assets is a way people become wealthy. I mean, I learned Tuguti real estate is one of the best assets to acquire. So I told myself, okay, cool. If I can get in the industry, learn how to sell it, rent it, I would get more insider knowledge. And from that insider knowledge, I can one day start acquiring my own properties, which I've started doing. So
how many properties you own now?
right now, I own 6 properties.
Really, like, how do you make money when it comes in real estate? Because, you know, in this economy, like, getting a house to be sold is really hard because a lot of people be complaining that they don't have
Interest rates and
money.
stuff.
Yeah. So how do you make money at this age in 2023 in real estate?
It depends all on the market that you're in. Yabo, there's a lot of different properties and areas, right? So it depends where you are working and where you are canvassing or farming. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter how the economy is doing. People will always need a roof under their head. So if not a lot of people are buying, then a lot of people are renting. So either way, you can still earn, you see? It just depends on you knowing the market, you knowing the demand of the area, and placing yourself in the right area and placing yourself around the right people. You know, supply meets demand.
Does the looks matter when it comes to real estate?
Does looks.
Yeah, like
Like-
you dressing in suits and everything.
Image is everything, my man. I wouldn't say you need to dress in a suit in every appointment, but you have to be at least clean, you know. Image is everything, so it really does. Because people will base whether they're gonna give you business or not from the first interaction. So as much as it's important to know, you know, your numbers and know the market, you also need to look the part. So it does matter, man.
So do you need a degree to get started with real estate? Like,
Do you need a degree to get
Yeah.
started in real
Do you-
estate?
yeah.
You know, knowledge is helpful. But the nice thing about real estate is you can start your learning while you're working. You don't need to necessarily have a degree to start. But while you're in the industry, you can get qualifications like the NQF 4, NQF 5. You can do your logbook. There's several real estate courses you can go through. So that's the nice thing about this industry. It's relatively not hard to get into, but the thing a lot of people struggle with is making it work. You know, getting in is easy, but making a success out of it, that's where people struggle.
because
Matric is the starters.
yeah,
Yeah, having matric is really helpful. Having transport, knowing how to communicate, having some knowledge on how to work with computers and things like that. Those are all helpful things. And just those skills and that knowledge can make it a bit easier for you to make it work in this industry. Versus if you get started without any of those skills or resources.
So for you, Ne, how you got started? Like, you started first working in another agency.
Yes.
Then you started your own, or
Yes,
how-
yes.
yeah.
That's exactly how it started. When I got into property, I was still a varsity student at the University of Pretoria. So I started working part-time in the real estate industry. I was working for this other firm. I've actually worked for several firms
Several firms.
before I started my own. Yes. I've worked for at least 3 different firms. And the time I was working with them, I was busy gathering knowledge. I was busy learning. I was busy surrounding myself with the best before I was ready to start my own thing. So yeah, it's been a journey, man. It's been a journey.
Do you think there's such thing called luck, or you just you working smart and hard?
Hey, you know what they say about luck, man? That's opportunity meets preparation. So I would say there's such a thing as luck, but luck only goes to those who are prepared, you know. So if you know your numbers, you know your market, you have the product, you might just get lucky and draw the person who needs what you have. So there's no being lucky without you preparing first, you know, without you learning, without you going through the trial and error, struggling, you know, getting the listings. That's when you get lucky. So the more you put yourself out there and the more you learn, the more you attempt to win, the higher your chances of getting lucky.
Something I've been struggling on is like, how do you, for people, for somebody who's like not talkative as much, ne? So like, how do you keep the relationship with your clients, or like with the prospects?
Thing about maintaining the relationships, it's you don't have to be in their face like all the time. You know what I mean? Maybe like once every 2 weeks, if you can be posting some posts that show that you are in the industry and that you are sharing knowledge or any branded material, that's a good way to keep yourself top of their mind. Because social media is very powerful these days. If you can make yourself posting consistently and maybe following up every 2 weeks, even a person who's introverted can make it work, you know, because you won't have to be in their face all the time. As long as they can see that you are out here, you know, you're posting your listings, you're posting educational content, you're posting that, you know, your viewings, they will always think of you when they think of real estate. So that's the trick. The trick is to just grow your audience and have them believe that you are about this life, that you are an expert in this industry. And if they need anything, any help, any services, any questions, they must come to you.
When it comes to houses, like what increases the value of the house? Like, it doesn't mean maybe let's say I have a mansion in the township and I'm selling it at around maybe 1.7 million. Like, will it be still like sellable, or like get it sold?
That's the thing about selling a property is the property has to correlate with the value of the market. So if you are building like a mansion in the township, what's going to sell the property is if the price aligns with the prices around the place. Yabo? So if a person overbuilds, overextends, and overprices their place, it's going to have a harder time selling. Because when people are looking to buy a property, they're going to compare your property with the properties around, you see? And at the end of the day, as much as your property can have nice features, can have, you know, the aluminium windows and all of these things, at the end of the day, people can always add their own features. You know what I mean? So the first thing that makes a property desirable is the price, you know? Because like I'm saying, at the end of the day, people can always add their own things. So to answer your question, a mansion in the townhouse would definitely have a hard time selling. The trick to making it sell is making the price somewhat align with the value of the overall properties in the area. So let's say the houses around the area are going for 600,000 rand to 900,000 rand, and when you want to list it for 1.7, it is gonna stay on the market for a long time. The only time you can sell a property for 1.7 is if the other properties around are for like 1.5, 1.6. Then it has a better chance, you know.
Which real estate you're saying it's also easy to make. It's also easy to get in, but it's hard to make sales.
Yes, it's easy to get in, but it's hard to make it a success. But I reckon it all comes down to your consistency and your willingness to make it work. Personally, when I started in the industry, I only made my first sale like after 7 months.
After 7
After
months.
7 months, man. And I won't lie, when I came in, I thought it would be quick money, easy money. I suppose another thing that delayed me is the fact that I was still in school and I was doing it part time. But I found that it started aligning when my willingness to make it work started increasing. Like I started telling myself, "Good, no maganjan, I have to make this work." Like I came to a point where failure was not an option. Like I literally had to make the sales, or else everything would fall apart. I had some things demanding money. So I knew it's okay. No, now I really need to make it work, and that's when the success started coming. Yeah, it just goes on your willingness to see it through. Your willingness to stay consistent, and your willingness to put yourself out there. You can't enter this game if you're lukewarm. If you come in here lukewarm and you're just like, I'm gonna try it out, see if it works, it's not gonna work. You have to put it all on the line and tell yourself, I'm gonna make it work. That's when things start popping.
Because I'm also struggling on getting sales. That's a difficult one. That's a difficult
What I'd advise a lot of young agents to do is, if you want to start gaining momentum, target rentals as well, man. Like in this economy with the interest rates and all the things happening, it's possible to make sales. Don't get me wrong, people are making sales every day out here. But there's more demand for rentals, and you can make a good living with rentals. I know of this other agent who has accumulated a good profile of a good portfolio of rentals, and homie gets 65,000 rand a month just from all these rentals that he has. So
In your firm? In your firm?
no, not in my firm. He's a friend of mine in another firm.
No.
But my point is, there's different ways to make money here. You don't have to just focus on selling. But if you know there's a higher demand for rentals, target rentals. You'll find more success.
I once came across this thing of Airbnb.
Yes.
Yeah, like how do you get in when it comes to Airbnb? Because there's also another Airbnb that's being built around my neighborhood.
Is
So yeah, how do you make money through that as an agent? Like, is it possible?
It is possible. But the thing about Airbnb is you'd have to be an owner. Okay. The owners are the ones who usually make the most profit. So if you own the building or own the unit or own the house, it's a matter of you furnishing it, making it nice, and then just like how we market on Property 24 and all of that, the Airbnb owner markets on their platforms, and they get people who are visiting the area.
No.
Yeah, so that's basically what it is. It's somewhat the same as renting, but now it's just
For a few days. Maybe.
yes, for a few days. But Airbnb is also a great opportunity to earn in the property industry. If we're being honest, a lot of property is one of the industries that a lot of corporations earn through. Because like I said at the beginning of this interview, even right now we're sitting in real estate. We're sitting at a restaurant, and either they leasing the unit, or they bought the unit. Either way, they are making business using real estate. You see what I mean? So I suppose it's just a matter of staying creative to see okay, if you have a property, how can you best profit from it? You can maybe rent it out to other businesses. You can rent it out to a person who wants to start a crash. You can sell it, you can flip it. There's a lot of ways to make money through this industry.
Let me take you back also, when you were starting your firm. How old were you when you were starting your own firm?
Firm is just over a year old.
Oh, a year old. Oh.
Just over a year old. So when I started it, I was, how old was I? I was about 24, 23.
Oh.
Yeah. But before then, I started it because before I got my qualifications, before I started recruiting, I had already got the website up, I had already started the branding, I had already started the smaller steps before I actually launched it. So I started before I started, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so what was the process through you building your own firm? I also want to
Own a firm one day.
yes, one day. What was the process?
Okay, so first things first. Before there's a very famous quote that says, "Before you earn, you must learn." So that's the first step. So you setting yourself up nice by actually joining a real estate firm, seeing how they operate, getting close to people who are earning in this industry, just seeing how they think, how they operate, and try to get some nuggets of wisdom from them. That's the first step. Second step is building the right relationships. So I'm friends with a lot of CEOs and a lot of business owners in real estate, out of real estate. Now, me building these connections, I was able to get the wisdom on certain things to do, certain things not to do. Next step is getting the qualifications. Because, you can't run a firm if you're not qualified to run a firm. So you need to get your NQ 4, you need to get your NQ 5, get your principal status, and register your firm. Oh, there's an important thing that I skipped. But as you know, as you join the firm, you also need to get your real estate license in a firm, which isn't free. You get your license from the PPRA. It's called an FFC. And once you have an FFC, you're basically compliant. Once you're compliant, it'll be easier for you to make things work.
Hopefully one day I get there too. But anyways,
I'll help you.
you're saying your net worth. Network is your net worth. So
How do you start networking with people and stuff?
like if you for example
Yes,
you saying you have like a lot of friends who are like business owners and CEOs.
Yes.
So like for me who don't have those friends, like how do I
Some advice that I can give you before you put yourself out there is you gotta work on yourself. Work on your energy, because like energy attracts like energy. You have to build yourself to be the kind of person that other CEOs would look at and respect. So how you do that is you build up your self-confidence, your self-esteem, you read the right books. You read a book that I'd really recommend for networking is a book by Dale Carnegie. It's called How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Oh yeah, I know it.
Great book. See if you can go over books like that, those kind of personal development books, books on the law of attraction, manifestation, prosperity consciousness. You're making yourself ready, right? And then once you're ready, the next step is to put yourself out there. So how you put yourself out there is you attend as many seminars as you can. You attend as many conferences as you can. If your team is having trainings, show up at the trainings. Talk to the other agents around. Do interviews like you're doing now with CEOs and people who are winning in this game. Find out how they think, how they operate, and most important, execute. Because it's one thing to learn from these people, but you got to implement what you're learning from these people, because the knowledge and the wisdom without execution is useless. You feel me? So yeah, that's how you do it. You get yourself ready, work on your mindset, work on your energy, work on your image.
Look good, feel good.
Exactly. Look good, feel good. And then put yourself out there. And then once you put yourself out there, everything comes from then. Because you would have read over the, how to win friends and influence people. You'll know what to do, man. A person will come sit next to you or come near you. It'll be easy for you to start off a conversation. It'll be easier for you to be alluring to this person. So I mentioned that you gotta work on yourself first before you put yourself out there, because it's good to be ready. Like I mentioned in the beginning of this interview, luck is opportunity meets preparation. So first step, getting yourself prepared. Once you're prepared, the right moment will come, and that's you'll seize the moment from there. Am I making sense?
Yeah, you're making sense. Yeah.
I think the mistake a lot of people make is sometimes they just too eager, too impatient with the process. Maybe they put themselves out there before they're even ready, So it's really important to get yourself ready. Read the personal development books, watch the YouTube. We're in the age of information. Literally everything is on the internet. There's YouTube videos on how to network. There's YouTube videos on how to build connections. Prepare yourself, study, learn. And then when the moment comes, when you're in the seminars, the conferences, it'll be easier for you. I think I saw you attend a seminar, Yaga Vusi Tembekwayo, ne?
Yeah.
That's great, man. You gotta be attending these kind of things more often, because the kind of people who go to these kind of conferences are business-minded people who want to get ahead. So you know when you're in those spaces, you are around people who are trying to advance. So you know what, if you had to speak to the person next to you or the person over there, you're most likely speaking to a person who has some wisdom that you don't have or has experience that you don't have. And just connecting with that person can put you ahead way quicker.
You can't make it alone when it comes to business.
Can't make it alone. There's no such thing as a self-made person. That is false. Nobody is self-made. Umuntu umuntu ngabantu. Literally. Even all the success that I've accumulated at a young age, I attribute it to the connections that I've built. I can give you a story. The first property that I acquired, I got my first property when I was 21 years old. 21 years old. And how I got this property was from a connection. A friend of mine who's also in this industry, who Tembisa Kunene, he's also a CEO.
Yeah, I know.
A close friend of mine. So he gave me a heads up that, hey man, there's this place that I want to get. And he basically showed me this method of acquiring properties that is not really a method a lot of people know about. So we ended up, using cheat codes to legally acquire properties at an easier way than other people do. And I wouldn't have known how to do that if it wasn't for that connection, because he shared the wisdom, he shared the information, and from then I was able to leverage the information and get my own properties.
What are the qualities of a good agent?
The qualities of you mean like a successful real estate agent?
What makes a real estate agent to be successful?
I can name a few qualities a person can work on to make themselves a good real estate agent. The first quality is charisma, man. If you can increase your ability to be likable, people will be more likely to give you business. So gahle, if ungachamu umuntu, bro, it'll be easier for them to want to work with you. So you must be charismatic, you must be enthusiastic.
Do you first being charismatic? Because I personally don't think I'm charismatic.
But
so
that's the
you
thing.
learn it.
Yeah, that's the thing about it. It's like something you can work on. There's books on charisma. There's YouTube videos on how to be. There's even a YouTube channel that I'd recommend. It's called Charisma on Command. Must check it out. All, like I mentioned in part 1 of this interview, we're in the age of information. Everything is on the internet. You can finish a degree without going to school, bro. Literally everything is on the internet. It's just about asking the right questions, searching the right things. A lot of people will be searching nonsense on the internet. They're wasting the resources. But if you're ambitious and you're resourceful, you can leverage the fact that we're in the age of information and learn what you need to learn. So just to carry on, you need to be charismatic. You must be enthusiastic. You must have a strong willpower. Like you must. When it's a strong willpower, I mean like a really strong burning desire to win. So burning desire to make it work. You need good communication skills. You need a positive mindset, because things can go wrong. Deals can fall apart. There might be problems at home. You need to be able to pull yourself out of that dark space and keep a positive mindset. You need good people skills. Obviously, you need the sales and negotiation skills. Let me see, what's another trait you'd need to be a successful real estate agent? Oh, and most important is a willingness to learn. I think that's the most important one. If you have a strong willingness to learn, then the world is yours. Just keep the same mindset as a student. I still think of myself as a student today. Many people would say I'm a master, but really I'm still a student. I've got so much to learn. I'm just getting started. So I still take it as in it's my first day in real estate. I still, as much as I know a lot, I still consider that I don't know anything. There's still lots to learn.
I guess that's something I should be I should prepare myself for, learn how to be charismatic.
Yes.
Everything.
Exactly, man. It'll make your world a lot easier. If you can make yourself more likable, you can work on your EQ, your emotional intelligence, just understanding people better. Because if you can put yourself in a person's shoes and relate to them and be genuinely looking to serve their best interest, they can sense that, and they'll be more likely to give you business. I came in this industry with the intention of becoming an investor. If I'm being honest, when I joined in real estate, I didn't know that I'd one day be a CEO. It wasn't a part of the plan. But as I was learning and exposing myself, I saw it like it's possible. As I exposed myself to more business owners, I saw it like I can be a business owner too. From then, everything just branched out. So initially, my plan was to just be a normal agent and also acquire properties. Being a CEO wasn't really a part of the plan until the most recent years.
Okay, this thing is, I think it's like a little bit different. So, because I'm gonna talk about like finding a partner, like things like that. So,
Like business partner or relationships.
yeah, relationships.
Like umjolo.
Yeah, like basically. So, do you think like they help when it comes to like you making out in life, or when you're like staying single and stuff like that?
I get your question, bro. My advice for a lot of young business people out there is work on yourself before you get in umjolo. Because umjolo is going to drain your resources. It's going to drain your time, your energy, your finances, and sometimes your mental well-being. So, especially for all the young men listening to this, focus on building yourself first, bro. Get the money first before you bring a woman into your life. You don't want to bring a woman into your life when you don't have sufficient resources, because she's gonna want things. She's gonna want you to take her out, to spoil her, treat her nice. And don't get me wrong, not every woman in the world is materialistic. Not every woman in the world wants everything from you. But as a man, you'll have more honor knowing that you're able to provide for your lady. You know what I mean? I would advise the young men to at least get the ball rolling first before they get a young woman into their lives. And another thing about umjolo is it's also all about finding the right person, bro. Because some people in this world are liabilities and others are assets. So if you see good, okay, you don't have all the resources yet, but this young lady or this young gentleman, you find good, they adding value to the relationship. They understand when you're working, they are pushing you to do more. They are plugging you with the right people. Those are what we call assets, man. Stay away from the ladies who just want to spend your money. If you see Guti, she enjoys spending your money more than helping you make money, that's the first sign that she's not the one.
Yes.
As an entrepreneur, as an aspiring tycoon, it's very important that you have the right queen. It's very important that you have the right king, because those are the people who can help you run your empire, So yeah, that's my advice. First thing, work on yourself before you bring somebody close. Second thing, make sure they're the right person and that they are interested in having you advance. The thing is, a lot of people these days just want to take. They just want to spend your money. They just want to have you take them out. They just want you to take them Ubo, diamond walk and whatnot. But the ones who would remind you, no babe, we need to budget, we need to save. No babe, don't spend on bottles. Please go invest in that seminar. Invest in that book. If she checks on you, babe, did you go on your meetings? Are you studying? Are you learning? Those are the right people, bro. Because I've had them both, if I'm being honest. I've had women in my life who have been very helpful, and I've had women who have set me back. So I know both ends, And if I'm being honest with you, I think one of the mistakes that I made starting out was I was too... I liked women too much, bro. I liked women, dude. Like in my earlier days, I was forever, charming, chasing skirts. And it wasted a lot of time, bro. It wasted a lot of my resources. I could have been pouring more into myself. Because believe it or not, I found that now, since I'm more prominent, since I have more going on for me, it's easier to date, bro. It's easier to attract a woman because I can provide for her, I can be there for her, It's much easier versus when I did it, when I didn't have the resources, when I didn't have the time, it was more difficult, So yeah, that's the advice I'd give people. listening to this.
I hope you heard. I hope you really. But then, okay, back to real
That's a
estate.
good question.
Now
That's a
back
great
to
question.
now back to real estate. Nah. What's the biggest thing you've learned besides relationship, nah, but like business wise in this journey of you pushing entrepreneurship and business?
I can give you the biggest 3 lessons,
Okay.
and none of them are more important than the other. They're all super important. But the first one I'll start off with is respect the process. A lot of us in the entrepreneurship journey are eager to make the money fast. We're eager to get the business booming fast. We want the results now.
And I know, like, I'm part of them. I'm part of those things. Yeah.
And that thing, it's a good thing to have, but it can also mess you up. Because the reality is all the booming enterprises you see today, they're things that have the longevity. Like this establishment we're sitting in right now. You see it's a profitable, thriving business, but it wasn't always a profitable, thriving business. It was a journey. I like to make the example of We Buy Cars. So We Buy Cars, I think it's about 20 something years old. It wasn't a business that was booming in the early days. It was very quiet, low key. But now it is a thriving business. It's booming. It's everywhere. It's well recognized. And I found their story very interesting because they got a lot of momentum and success like in the later years of their journey. Like I think it was the 20th year or close to the 20th year. That's when things really started booming, you know. That's when they started getting like exponential results. Not to say they weren't winning before, but they started winning exponentially after the 20th year or before the 20th year. My point is, you gotta be willing to walk the long path, you know. Because the reality is some businesses can take up to 5 years before they start seeing profits. And the reason a lot of entrepreneurs fail is because they would quit in the first year or the second year or the third year when it's not working out. So it's just about, you know, trusting the journey, trusting the process, and being stubborn. Another really important lesson that I learned that I can attribute some of my success to is working on prosperity consciousness. What that is, it's basically your mind's ability to recognize the opportunities.
Oh yeah.
Your mind's ability to recognize ways you can make currency. Because if you don't have prosperity consciousness, it might be harder for you to spot the opportunities where you can earn. It might be difficult for you to attract the money energy, you know. So you have to work on your mind. You have to align your mind and your energies to be able to become more of a magnet to the opportunities, to the money. Because a mistake a lot of people make is they're just focusing on like the material things, you know, getting to meetings, talking to clients, marketing and whatnot. But mindset is a super important aspect of this making it work. And this is something that you sculpt and work on daily.
You're talking about mindset. Now, the follow-up question to the mindset part is like, what's the winning mindset?
What's the meaning of mindset?
I mean, like, what is a winning mindset?
What is a winning mindset?
Yeah.
A winning mindset is the kind of mindset that is stubborn about the goal, right? But flexible in the means of attaining the goal. So I like to say there's many ways to the top of the mountain. As long as when you are relentless and you tell yourself, but you're gonna get to where you're going, no maganjan, you know, come fire or frost, you're gonna get where you're going. That's the first thing you need. But you also need to be flexible, because if you're trying something and it's not working, you can't just be stubborn and keep doing something that's not working, right? You have to be able to adapt, to try new things, you know, to see new things, you know, experiment. That's the winning mindset. The stubbornness and the flexibility.
Stubbornness and flexibility.
Because there's many ways to the top of the mountain, you know?
You know, earlier this year, somebody said, a CEO of some other company once said to me, one good year can change the rest of your life, ne?
Very
So
true, very true.
so I want to ask for you, what was that one good year?
It was 2020. That year changed everything. So if you recall, 2020 was around the time where COVID. So what happened then is a lot of businesses shut down. And it was a time where a lot of us were tested. You know, a lot of us weren't making any money. You know, the deeds office was closed. So in the real estate industry, deals couldn't register. And if deals can't register, people can't get paid. So what happened that year, I was still working for this other firm, and agents weren't working. We weren't allowed to work, really. Also to respect the COVID regulations. But I was so stubborn about making success in this industry that I still pushed to make it work anyways. Because there were people who were looking for houses. So Mina, what I did is I kept putting myself out there. I wore my mask. I respected the regulations and all. And I would still conduct viewings. You know, I found a way to make it work. Like I'd take a person to view and make sure the family goes outside. Because, you know, I had to respect COVID. I had to do the social distancing. I had to sanitize. And I was still pushing while a lot of agents weren't pushing. And because I was one of the few that were still working, I got a lot of business, bro. Like, I sold over 12 houses that year.
12 houses in 1 year.
Over 12 houses. I think I made
Whoa.
like 15 or 16.
Houses in 1 year.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And this was... And
So not rental.
not
So-
rental, sales, yes.
Yeah.
And another thing that pushed me to make this work was because, like I said in part one of the interview, when I started in the industry, I was still working part-time and varsity. I was still studying part-time. So 2020, that was my first year being full-time in this industry. So you can imagine, I was working hard to get out of school so I can finally make this work. And then now I'm told, Guti, I can't work. I was like, nah, miss me with that. I was so hungry to make it work. So I think that's the thing that motivated me to move, that I was hungry for it. I wanted it. Dude, I was such a money-crazed little shit, dude. Like, I was so driven to make it work. And it's crazy. The whole world was telling me that it's not going to work. You know, it's not the good time. But I forced it, you know. And although the deeds office was closed, I made a lot of sales. And it was difficult because since the deeds office is closed, it means I wasn't earning from the sales that I was making. So I'd sell a house and then it would stay pending. And it was bitter, it was depressing, you know, because imagine working hard to sell a house, but you don't get paid. But the beautiful thing about this is the moment the deeds office finally opened, all my sales came in at once. So you can imagine, boom, boom, boom.
There's like millions.
Bro, my bank account blew up. Like I had fat pockets. And from then I saw, but you know what? It's possible, you know. And I learned lessons in resilience, you know. Because it was hard, man. Showing up to appointments, I don't have petrol money. There's no barbers. I'm looking crusty. No one's cutting my hair, you know. My clothes are old. I got some shoes. I got holes in my shoes. It was difficult, bro. But I think some of the clients could recognize with this young man is hungry. And they respected me for it. They respected me because aside from appearances, aside from how crusty I was, they could sense with this one wants to make it work. This is a young man on the move. And people can sense that energy from you. And when they sense that energy from you, they are more likely to help you get ahead. I sensed it in you, actually, when you wanted to do this interview. I could sense with this is a young man who's hungry for success. So I'm going to help him. Yeah, dude. So I just hope you keep your hunger, you know, because there's gonna be a day you look back at this video and you remember, man, he did say it, you know. That being hungry for it is the greatest start, you know.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So, what advice would you give out to like people who want to start out in the real estate industry? Like,
What advice would I give them? Some advice that I would give them is do research on the right models. And what I mean by that is basically do research on the blueprints that work. Because the way to get success is by replicating the blueprints that work. Don't waste your time doing trial and error, doing your own thing, trying to figure it out. No. Find a successful agent or a successful business leader, learn from them, see what they're doing, and copy what they're doing. It's that simple, bro. And not to say Gucci must copy everything like word for word, but it's about like seeing the blueprint that works and adding your own unique flavor to it. Yes, that's how we make it work. I think the blueprint that I'm working on is like 3 or 4 blueprints in one, plus my own unique spice. That's what makes it work. Yeah, guys, please like, comment, subscribe, and stay tuned for more. This young man's going places. So let's watch his journey. Let's support his journey.